the nonprofit space, you probably need to get a lot done with a little. You're listening to Hacks for Good with nonprofit technology nerd Taylor Shanklin.
We're all hustling at nonprofits, at startups.
T-Shank is going to break it down for you.
It's a grind, right? You've got to do a lot with a little.
Giving you tips and tricks to grow your mission.
So I'm going to be sharing my toolkit.
And use the latest and greatest tools available to growth hack your cause.
Hey, fundraising friends. It's Taylor Shanklin, aka T-Shank, here in Austin, Texas. Never really said it that way. Anyhow, it's really gorgeous day here today. It's like finally not hot. And I have been ruminating on some things this morning, and before I go inside and get my day going, I wanted to get a quick video in and throw some thoughts at you. The topic of how to engage and get millennials interested in engaging with your organization is something that I hear people talking about a lot. Always thinking through, how do I connect with millennials? How do I market to millennials? How do I get millennials to want to fundraise for my nonprofit organization? And I think oftentimes what we're really missing in that message is there is a very big difference between one millennial to another millennial. And what we don't talk about when we talk about millennials is we don't talk about the very different age range in millennials. We just kind of bucket them all into millennials, and all millennials are the same. All millennials love to be on Snapchat all day long. All millennials love to talk about themselves. All millennials are selfish. Like, these are some of the things that I think we hear and we sometimes associate. And then we also, on the flip side, on the positive side, we also often hear things like, oh, millennials are actually really engaged in social impact. Millennials do this. Millennials like projects. Millennials do that. And again, I think we're kind of missing the point that there is a 24-year-old millennial and there's a 35 or a 36-year-old millennial, and those two millennials can be very, very different just based on that 10-year gap. So I'm going to do something that probably most women in the world would not ever care to do, but I just don't really care because it is what it is. So I am like a millennial from years past, okay? I am one of those millennials who is right at the tippy-toe edge of being a millennial or being on the older generation before me, okay? I'm 35 years old, and I will say my 35-year-old millennial self is very, very, very different than my 24-year-old millennial self. I also will say what's different about me as a 35-year-old millennial is I did not grow up with the iPhone in my hand. I actually had an old school cell phone. I had a pager in high school. I had some of the, funny, I had the Zach Morris phone. And so the way that technology has shifted as I've kind of come into my adulthood has been different than someone who is a whole 10 years younger than me, or even a whole 5 years younger than me. And so I think we need to get better at looking at data, talking to millennials in different segments of that population, because again, a 24-year-old millennial could be quite different in where they are in their life than a very ancient old ruins millennial like myself. So I think there's a couple ways to go about doing this. if you have data on age range, start to think about using it. If you don't, start to think about how you could get data on age range without turning people off. So I think it's very easy for a donor or potential donor or someone you're trying to market to get turned off if you ask them for their birth date right up front. But let's say they just donated to you, maybe right after the fact on the donation thank you page, you have an opportunity to say, hey, we would like a little bit more information. We like to send birthday cards out every year. Would you mind sharing your birth date with us? So I think there's some interesting ways to ask for that information so that you can get the data without having it come off as being kind of invasive, because I know I certainly have experienced going to forms before where I'm just trying to give money and it's asking for my birth date, and I'm thinking, why do they want all of this demographic data, right? I don't necessarily want to give it to you right now because we just met. And that's more the case when it's an organization that maybe I've never donated to or engaged with. Going back real quick, my phone is falling here. I want to share, I guess, a story too, just a personal story about why I feel like there are such differences in millennials based on whether you're kind of a younger millennial, let's call it a middle-aged millennial, or an ancient millennial like myself. When I was 24, 25 years old, I didn't have much money. I didn't have kids, and I had a lot of time. So I actually was very engaged with a nonprofit at that point in my life where I was doing fundraising for them. I was very interested in doing the challenge events. So I was doing, triathlons and 100-mile bike rides and raising money for good causes. I had the time at that point in my life to really just go all out and really do that. But I didn't have a ton of money to commit myself, right? But I had time to go out and ask a bunch of friends for money. I had time to go stand outside of Walmart and ask for people's loose change. I had time. Fast forward 10 years and now I have less time. Time is a real commodity for me. I've advanced in my career. I have 2 young children. I have a husband who's trying to advance in his career, and we're also both just trying to really be around for our kids and being very present parents. So I don't have as much time. Time is a real commodity for me, and like a precious metal. But you know what? I do have more money now because I have made advancements in my career, and we've saved money, and it's we've grown up and learned a thing or two about finances. And so I prefer now to give more as opposed in the terms of dollars as opposed to my time. So that's just one example with me and my own experience, my own life experience of being a millennial and saying to you all that we shouldn't be treating all millennials in the same way. They're very, very different stages of life. And I think that if you start to really think through how can I get the data or look at my data so I'm really giving the right message to the right millennial, you'll find a greater return on your investment of time and marketing to them and working to create programs to engage millennials with your nonprofit organization. So there you have it. My thoughts on millennials. It's something that has kind of come up in conversations recently, and I've been thinking about it. And quite frankly, I'm curious to hear comments, opinions, thoughts, experiences. I would also say that if you really want to tap into the brain of a millennial and you yourself are not a millennial, ask millennials what they think, what resonates with them, and ask millennials at different stages of life. Ask an old millennial like me and ask a young millennial. And try to get real life anecdotal feedback from millennials to truly find out what's going to resonate with them. Okay, that's it for now. Thanks for listening to this rant. Let me know what you think. Okay, talk to you later, guys. Bye.
We really appreciate you tuning in to Hacks for Good. We hope you got some nuggets you can take back to your nonprofit to accelerate growth, or just get your job done faster. Subscribe for regular updates at hacksforgood.com. If you liked it, please share this out with others you think may like it. Until next time.